Good morning and welcome to the November webinar with the Kentucky Advising Academy. We are an initiative of the Kentucky Council on Postsecondary Education, and we are so excited that you decided to join us today and hope that you can find some information that you can put to immediate use. As most of you know, I am Mitzi Holland, the director of the Kentucky Advising Academy, and I am joined today with our regional coordinators, as well as a special guest, Robin Hebert, Senior Fellow in K-12 Policies and Programs at the Kentucky Council on Postsecondary Education. As we give everyone time to join, we would like to get to know you a little bit. So if you would, in the chat, please put your name, your organization, your title, and since we're gearing up for Thanksgiving next week, drop your favorite Thanksgiving food in the chat. And I know we're going to have people join, and we're going to still allow them to drop that in the chat, but I do want to say that we do appreciate you all making time to join us today. And as always, if you attend our webinars live, you are eligible for ELA credit. And if you'll stay with us till the end, we'll share with you how you can get your ELA or your Frisky certificate. So as people are still dropping those things into the chat, I will go over today's agenda. As always, we'll give you just a brief overview of the Kentucky Advising Academy. Then we will learn all about navigating early post-secondary opportunities with Robin Hebert. And then at the end, we will talk to you about how you can stay connected to KAA, as well as share with you information on how you can get your ELA or Frisky certificate. So as you know, the Kentucky Advising Academy supports P20 educators as they support students in their transition from high school to the desired post-secondary path and ultimately to their desired career. So we believe that all students deserve equitable post-secondary advising, and our goal is to share networking opportunities and resources so that all students in Kentucky will have that opportunity. And we have multiple ways that practitioners can stay involved with KAA. We do offer monthly well-advised podcasts. This is a brief podcast covering timely post-secondary advising topics. We have our monthly webinars. We also have informational emails that we share, as well as in-person professional learning events. And please be on the lookout for information about our spring professional learning event that will be coming up in February. We also have our online toolkit, and we will share a little bit more about that at the end of the webinar. If you have joined us on a webinar before, or you have taken advantage of any of our other offerings, we certainly thank you for that. And with that, I would like to introduce our guest presenter today, Robin Hebert. She is a senior fellow with K-12 Policies and Programs with the Kentucky Council on Postsecondary Education. So Robin, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and give you an opportunity to share yours, but I do want to thank you so much for being with us today.
All right. Well, thank you, Mitzi and Cheryl, for having me today. I'm always excited to get to talk about the value of early post-secondary opportunities and the opportunities that students here in Kentucky have to get a jump start on what happens after high school. In lieu of saying early post-secondary opportunities about 1 million times today, whenever I say EPSOs, that's what I'm referring to. So if I use that acronym, you'll be able to follow right along with me. It's great to see so many of the people that I have recognized with other work around the state joining the webinar today, and many of you whom I have not met. So welcome to the webinar today. As we get started, I do want to give a shout out to our national partner, the College and High School Alliance, because this group, and especially our Kentucky liaison, Alex Perry, has been incredibly helpful to us in advising the Kentucky team here at CPE about what research is saying, what other states are doing, and what people are trying, and the best practices around early post-secondary opportunities, and especially around dual credit. So I'm going to share my screen with you and now so that you all can see some of what I'm talking about. And I just wanted to start out with just kind of level setting around research. And the research is really clear that when students take college classes in high school, it helps them, and it helps all students, but especially it helps students who have not always had access to college. Some of those that we recognize as our underrepresented groups, including low-income students, students of color, first-generation students, students who are just generally underrepresented in higher education. And I know that this group is really focused on opening opportunities for those students. So when they take college classes in high school, it helps them actually enroll and complete a degree or credential at higher rates than if they don't. So you probably already know that EPSOs come in many shapes and sizes. On the screen here, you see some of the different ways that Kentucky students can access college credit when they're in high school. And there are benefits to each one, and there are different reasons why a school might choose to offer one over another. And there are a lot of reasons why a student might choose one delivery method over another. And this is another reason why advising and career planning in high school are so important to students. It's important work that you do to help them understand why you would choose, for example, dual credit over advanced placement, or why you would choose advanced placement over dual credit. So regardless of what EPSO the students choose, the most important thing is for them to see this clear, specific path of getting from where they are to where they want to be. And I know that that's the work that you all are so invested in. So one key consideration is transferability, and you have to think about that when you're choosing an early post-secondary opportunity. So for example, in Kentucky, we have the transfer agreement, and it applies to dual credit that's earned at our state institutions. And generally, these courses are highly transferable from one Kentucky higher institution of higher education to another. But if a student wants to attend an out-of-state college, transferability of these courses can be determined by that receiving institution. Most of the time, dual credit that's earned in Kentucky will transfer, but it's important for students to know that they'll need to navigate that with the institution they're attending if it is out of state. And so these are just things for students and counselors to talk about and consider as they're thinking about the different type of EPSO that they want to select. Now, Kentucky has really done a great job of making early post-secondary opportunities affordable for students. Unfortunately, many of our Kentucky families and students don't fully realize how much money and time that can be saved by taking advantage of college and high school. So this is a challenge for us as we're kind of working behind the scenes, is to get the word out about how helpful in time and money savings dual credit or other EPSOs can be. You all already know the dual credit and the work ready dual credit scholarships can help cover the cost of tuition for most courses that a student would want to take. And students can even take additional courses beyond that scholarship at a very discounted tuition rate in the area of dual credit. So you can see on this slide some of the different ways that students can save time and money by taking an early post-secondary course. What I'd like to do now is get really specific about dual credit in Kentucky for a moment. One of the roles here at the Council on Post-Secondary Education is for us to collaborate with other partners to establish our state's dual credit policy, and then to collaborate with high schools and institutions of higher education to promote and support dual credit agreements and availability in an equitable way for Kentucky students. And, you know, because of our relationship with institutions of higher education where dual credit is kind of situated, we have a lot more investment in this type of EPSO than maybe others, and a lot more, you know, influence over that. So in our most recent policy update, Kentucky established a vision for dual credit and an attainment goal to help us enact that vision. Because we know about the benefits of dual credit for all of our students, our intention is to make dual credit more available to more students who aren't currently taking advantage of it. Now, let's just look for a second at the dual credit attainment goal, because I want to be really clear about something. Our intention is not just more dual credit for the sake of more dual credit, because we know that sometimes when students aren't clear about why they're taking it or how the course is going to help them or benefit them in the future to get to that career that they want, dual credit can be kind of a placeholder. But we want to make sure, first of all, that all students are taking advantage or knowing about this opportunity. And then secondly, that it's helping them get on that path toward the career that they actually want. So our goal says that by 2030, half or 50% of our Kentucky high school students will graduate high school having completed at least one dual credit course with a qualifying grade of C or higher. And the second part is really important, that as we increase the rates of student success in dual credit, the state is working to make sure that the economic, demographic, and geographic makeup of students who are participating matches the economic, demographic, and geographic makeup of Kentucky's high school population as a whole. And so to kind of put that in layman's terms, what we want to see is that across all economic groups in Kentucky, we want to see dual credit participation based on what percentage of the population that group is. And so we want, for example, students from who are experiencing poverty to experience dual credit at the same rates as students who are not experiencing poverty. So we really want to make it equitable for students in Kentucky to have access to dual credit. So again, our intention is not just more dual credit, like not for a student to accumulate a ton of dual credit, although if that happens and that's what the student wants, that's fine. But what we want to do is make it more accessible to more students who are not currently taking advantage. Now, I'm really excited to share this news with you that our goal is not unreasonable. As you can see here on the left-hand side of the screen, dual credit in Kentucky has steadily grown since 2017, when the scholarships were introduced. And if we can continue to grow at this pace, we will achieve our goal by 2030. But the most amazing part about this to me is that if every high school in Kentucky would add just one or two underrepresented students or students from some of those groups who aren't currently taking advantage of dual credit, we will actually close the opportunity and access gap that currently exists. And for me, that is a high priority. And I know that equity is a really important goal for the KAA as well. And I know all of you share that who are on with us today. So this is exciting news for us as we all are endeavoring to help more students get on the pathway toward a career that is personally satisfying for them and that will allow them to earn a life and family sustaining wage, which is really important to all of us. Now, I want to share a little bit of information from a recent dual credit report from the Community College Research Council. This slide that you're seeing was shared by John Fink at a recent NACEP conference that I attended in St. Louis. And I just thought it was an amazing representation of the national landscape of opportunity and access for dual credit coursework. So each bar on this graph represents the demographic group's proportion of dual credit coursework. And so while we're happy that so many white students are accessing dual credit opportunities, this graph kind of shows how much work we have to do in order to make the amazing opportunity available to all students. And if you looked at Kentucky's data, you would see underrepresentation among students who are experiencing poverty, students who are living in rural areas, and even students who are male compared to female counterparts. And so this doesn't show all of that, but you get the idea, is that we have certain student groups who are taking advantage and certain student groups who are not. So in an October 2023 publication called Deep Insights, Redesigning Dual Credit as a Purposeful Pathway to College and Career Opportunity, John Fink and others outlined some key paradigm shifts and some strategies for expanding access to dual credit. And this report and some of the other companion reports that have come out recently have been just really inspiring to me. And so I thought I would share a few of these highlights with you today, because they've really helped me to further and expand my own thinking about how we do dual credit in Kentucky, how we do EPSOs in Kentucky, and maybe how we could shift some of our thinking and some of our doing around these opportunities. So first of all, the report begins by showing how we can shift our thinking from conventional or kind of traditional mindset to an updated paradigm around early post-secondary opportunities. So for example, if we have traditionally thought that early post-secondary opportunities should be available to college-bound students, that we might change our thinking to actively outreach and support our underrepresented students, and even to move our communication strategies back to middle school rather than waiting until high school or maybe 10th or 11th grade in high school. That maybe if our conventional thinking around CTE has been about, well, how do we get a student a credential by the time they graduate so that they can immediately go into employment, maybe we might shift our thinking to, well, let's help students take and apply some CTE coursework to a more advanced degree or credential that they might seek after high school. And because we know that our research shows that those advanced credentials lead to higher wages over a lifetime. So these are some of the things that we can that can really challenge us, because in a lot of our feedback, we hear from students who say, well, I didn't even know that dual credit was available to me, or I didn't even know that AP courses were a thing. And so to shift our thinking about who we talk to about that might be a good idea. This next graphic from the report shows how that students who have taken advantage of early post-secondary opportunities have a lot of options for their futures. And so if you look here, you can see that through grades 6 through 12, if we have dual enrollment opportunities for students, and I'll talk about the 1, 2, 3, 4 here in a second, but if you look to the right side of this graphic, you can see that there are a lot of ways that a student might then launch into their post-secondary pursuits after high school. So they might enter into a baccalaureate major at a 4-year institution. They might go to a community college and then transfer with a 2+2 model, or they might earn a credential at the community college, or they might go into a workforce program that's aligned to this high wage or high demand career. And so there are lots of things that students can do after they've taken dual credit. It's important that they know what those opportunities are, and that we know what those opportunities are and how to help advise them well about how to get where they want to go. Now, on this slide and a few here next, I want to break down, let me go back just one to show you all. Here at the bottom, you see the 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to really dig into the 1, 2, 3, 4 strategies that this report kind of lays out for us about how do we get there. So first of all, we can think about outreach to underserved students and schools. We can focus on underserved high schools in general, but then drill down to those students and communities who need this information the most. We can think about how to begin the outreach before high school. We can start talking to students and families in middle school and even as early as elementary. We can leverage our community connections to build awareness with those business and industry partners who know so well about the needs and the opportunities that will be available in the local workforce. And I really love this fourth bullet, which is about building trust with and educating parents and families. And I've talked to so many different stakeholders about ways that we can do this, but you can't underestimate or undervalue this fourth bullet about building relationships with families so that they trust what we tell them about the future and how students can get to that future that they really desire. The second big strategy is about aligning our dual credit course offerings to college degrees and careers. So much has been said about helping students understand the pathway, um, how to get from where they are to where they want to be. And so the recommendations are for high schools to really inventory their current dual credit or dual enrollment offerings and to map these to college degree programs in different fields of interest or those high demand careers that are in the local workforce. And if you access this report, and I'll share with you later on how you can get to it, but if you access this report, it shows you some examples of how high schools have actually done this. And it's a really beautiful document that you could share with students so that they can see, here's how I get from where I am to where I want to be. And then to embed dual credit offerings in these career connected programs at the high school. The third big strategy is to advise students to explore their interests and to develop plans. You know, there is a lot of value in how dual credit can help to showcase different college programs and support exploration. In a recent webinar that we had related to involving middle school partners and how middle schools can really get involved in helping students get on a path to earning college credit in high school. Some experts were sharing about different ways that we can do this and how middle school is really a great opportunity for career exploration. It's important for students to not only know where they want to go or what they want to do with their lives, but part of that process is exploring different careers to say, you know, exploring this career helped me understand that this is not what I want to do with my life. I can definitely testify and say that as an early high school student, I quickly understood that accounting was not for me. You know, I thought maybe a business career was my future, and I was pretty good in math, and so I thought, well, maybe this. But after experiencing some accounting activities, I was like, I'm pretty sure that this is not the thing for me. No offense to any accounting majors who might be on call today, but it just wasn't for me. And so helping students not only identify what they are interested in, but also what they're not interested in is so important. And then helping them to develop a college program plan, just to kind of have in mind, how do I get there? And providing these checkpoints for advising, like, how are you doing in this process? And the pilot programs that this group has done in different high schools, this part of the plan has been super successful, is not just developing a plan, but checking in with students to say, how is this going? And are you still planning to pursue what you think or what you thought you wanted to pursue? And what's the next step in getting you there? And then finally, coordinating the advising roles across different sectors. In my work with high schools and post-secondary institutions, it's kind of the who's on first story. You know, a lot of times we're saying, well, whose job is it to really advise students about their career and about the college courses that they need to take? Because we know there are great people at the high school who are providing guidance. We know there are great people at the institutions of higher education who are providing guidance. But how do we get all of those counselors and those career supports and guidance supports on the same page and have kind of a coordinated plan in terms of student advising and support? And finally, the last recommendation is about supporting students by delivering high quality instruction. And, you know, as a former teacher and knowing that the teachers are the closest people to the students, we just can't undervalue the high quality instruction that students experience, no matter what course they're in, but especially in their college and high school courses. Learning to scaffold coursework and front load supports. We know that the college standards are not negotiable, that what students are to learn in these courses, it's not negotiable. But when we're able to work with them as high school students, instructionally, we have some opportunities to do things like scaffolding and front loading that will help them be successful, especially maybe students who are not as college ready as they could be for those courses. That we can have a really specific way of responding quickly when we see them start to struggle. that we can provide additional structured support, even for the online classes, and we can really support those dual credit instructors in terms of their strategies and the way that they deliver the coursework. And I know that some of our institutions in Kentucky do a fabulous job of working with those high school teachers who are serving as dual credit teachers in the high school. And so, there's a lot of different ways we deliver dual credit coursework. For example, sometimes students go from the high school to the campus, and so they're actually experiencing a college professor with other college students in that classroom. Sometimes it's 100% online, where students access the course probably in their high school, but they access it via a computer. And then sometimes we have dual credit instructors who are actually situated in the high school, and they're high school teachers who are credentialed for that course. So depending on the delivery method, the way that we support that dual credit instructor will vary. But I think it's important for us to work together to make sure that those students are receiving the best possible instruction that's engaging, that's hands-on, that helps keep them motivated and inspired to complete successfully. All right, so that's enough for the deep strategies that we can think about in terms of opening up more opportunity for students. And I'd like to wind things down here by talking about, we all know that this is hard work, and we know that it costs us something when we do it. It always takes time and effort in order to do the right things as educators. And so I really like this chart that shows some of the, just being really transparent about when we're investing in these experiences for students, there are some things that will happen. For example, number 2 in K-12 schools, there's an added burden on counselors. There are some costs for coordination and outreach. And I'm sure that you all are feeling that burn. You're feeling that pain in a really, tangible way. For colleges, it can mean that they are offering their coursework at discounted tuition, and so their fee revenue might be diminished when they offer a lot of dual credit. We hear this in Kentucky, but there are also benefits. There are incentives that help us. For example, gains in state performance funding. And as when you have the heart of an educator, when you have improved things that really are most. So just fully acknowledging that this work is not, it's not easy. I want to end by just sharing that we do have here at CPE, we've worked hard to build some supports for implementation of early post-secondary opportunities, and especially dual credit. One such resource is our EBSO toolkit, and it's available at the bit.ly address that you see there on the screen. And it can also be accessed from our dual credit page on CPE's website. And so there's a lot in there. There are some shining bright spots that tell about how some schools or districts are doing this work and doing it really, really well. So as for our conversation today, you can access also all of these reports and the research that I've been referencing from our policy and research tab in that toolkit. So I want to make sure that all of you have access to that and take full advantage of it, and that you help us to continue to build it. There's a link within the toolkit that if you have some great ideas or some great resources to share, you can email those or share those with us so that we can try to elevate those and make those famous as well. So it's been my pleasure to share this information with you today. And at this time, I'd like to turn things back to Cheryl and Mitzi to take us home.
Thank you, Robin. You shared some valuable information, and I'm going to start sharing my screen here in just one second so that we can open the floor up for questions. I did see a question or a comment in the chat there. And Robin, if you want to see maybe if that is something that you can address, that would be great. And
yeah, I see. Yeah, I see this one comment from Lori Beth. Hi, Lori Beth. That we need additional support for dual credit teachers. They do all of the work for no extra pay or time. And then I also see West Kentucky does an excellent job to provide professional development opportunities for dual credit teachers, but the teachers have to do all of this on their own time. And that is an issue that just keeps coming up, and it is definitely one that we have on the radar here at CPE. We have right now we have a dual credit community of practice, and maybe some of you who are involved today are involved with that work. But it is a group of practitioners who are engaged in solving some problems of practice over the next year. And the issue of teacher compensation or just support for teachers who do dual credit is at the top of the list of that conversation. And I will also tell you that nationally, this is a real issue that people keep elevating. And so we're looking for some ways in Kentucky to do a couple of things. First of all, sometimes when teachers want to teach dual credit, or if a high school needs a dual credit teacher, but they don't have anyone who's credentialed, we're looking for ways to support teachers for that credentialing. Generally, it requires 18 hours of 300 or above coursework in a discipline in order to teach a dual credit course. It depends, that credentialing comes from the post-secondary side. And so if a teacher needs some additional coursework, we're looking for ways to provide scholarshiping or financial support for teachers to do that. We also know that actually teaching a dual credit course is, requires some extra work on the part of a teacher just to prepare for it. And there is some paperwork, that's involved because the student is receiving a high school transcript as well as a college transcript. And so we are also investigating ways that maybe, for example, maybe that we could have a rank or a specific kind of endorsement for a dual credit teacher, but those things are down the road. But we are very aware of how dual credit teachers need more support and compensation for their credentialing as well as the extra work that they do. And so I'm really optimistic that our dual credit community of practice will come up with some ideas. And like I said, some other states are doing some innovative things, and we're working to try to learn for them. Yeah, Lori Beth, wouldn't that be awesome? I agree. Yeah, that would be great if we could figure out a way to do that. Okay, there's another question here about an amount of dual credit for student to pursue in high school, and concerned about 18-year-olds walking onto campus and taking upper level classes. Absolutely, I really appreciate that that comment, Philip, and that is another conversation that is being had. And I think this really goes back to that notion of college and career counseling at the high school level, and for the counselors to really understand where the student is developmentally, not just academically, but socially and emotionally. For example, we hear a lot of our high school partners say, when certain students that we have who walk away with an associate's degree, they are so ready to launch and to pursue that 4-year degree when they make it to college. And then we hear others say, we feel like we're setting up these students for failure because socially and emotionally, they're not quite ready for that advanced coursework when they get to college. And so that's why our dual credit attainment goal is really focused on helping more students have at least one college course, but we're not promoting or saying that it would be great for every student to have an associate's degree or a lot of college credit when they leave high school. And so the research on that is all over the place, but kind of confirming for us that some students are ready for a lot of coursework and some students are not. And so to help them understand that the opportunity is available, and to help them kind of feel a worthiness for college by completing one class successfully, if that has not been a part of their plan, is a good thing. But and it's this recent research says that it's even better the rewards are even better for our underrepresented students. But not everybody is ready for an associate's degree when they come out of high school. We'll definitely agree with you on that. All right. Let's see here. I hope I answered that question. Let's see. I see another one here. We have a post-secondary institution that we're fairly new working with, and we're struggling to get the institution to work hand in hand with our teacher and have full access to assist students. Oh, okay. Yeah. The best thing that I can, the best way that I can answer that question is, when you're setting up an agreement with a post-secondary institution, laying out all of the particulars about those kinds of things in the agreement is really, really important. I know you still have the challenge of making sure that people follow the agreement once it's in place, but at least you do have a written agreement about how those things will work. And so in our toolkit, we do have some samples of agreements that are strong, and some suggestions for working through those partnerships and any blips along the way, that you might have with those partnerships. But a lot of our high schools in Kentucky have multiple partners that they work with, because like, for example, one college might offer a particular course that you want for your students, but not another. And so then you have to go to another institution to get that other course. And so navigating that is difficult, and it's very time consuming. And so, we hear a lot that the work that is involved, this is one of those costs versus benefits of dual credit, that the work of that and the time that's involved in establishing these agreements and working through these issues is really, really important. And I think it's important for our district and our state as a whole to say, if we're going to invest a lot of money in the dual credit scholarship and we really want students to take advantage, that we have to figure out how to build some supports, like just human capital, to do the work. And so I hear you loud and clear, and I wish I could solve that issue for you. But okay, here's another one. We have 6 institutions, and there's only one that's difficult. Yeah, that is a blessing, Sheila. You're right.
Well, I want to thank you all for those great questions. And I will just say, if anyone has an additional question, please feel free to unmute yourself or to drop that in the chat. If we don't get all questions answered before our webinar time ends, we will be sure to get those to Robin, and she can get an answer to you. One thing that I was thinking in my mind, Robin, as you were talking about one of the benefits of dual credit for students, is if you look at the high school feedback report, you can see a huge difference in first year college GPAs for students who have taken dual credit classes compared to students who have not taken dual credit. So while I've always been a huge supporter of dual credit, it was just very eye-opening to see the difference in that first year GPA. Just having even one course can set, like you said, students up for success. I did notice a couple of things dropped in. And I think mostly maybe those are just comments that could potentially be barriers, and agree that, having to pay for transcripts from multiple institutions and textbook costs and things like that are all potential barriers. But I still know that you all are doing lots of work to try to help address and elevate some of those barriers to the right, I guess, people.
Yeah. Mitzi, I would like to just make one final comment about that. In the toolkit, there are some stories about how some districts have worked through some of these barriers with local partners. Business and industry, they're way more supportive of dual credit and getting students the credentials and degrees that are necessary for that local economy than you would think. And some school districts have actually put in place in their own local school budget opportunities to pay for those extra things that can sometimes be a barrier for dual credit. And so in the toolkit, there are some examples of how people have done that, and even names of people that you could call and say, how did you do this? How did you really do this? And so just solving some of those issues locally can be a really powerful thing. And sometimes that happens on the post-secondary side, like, if you have your institution with local partners who are willing to pick up those costs. And sometimes it happens on the high school side, where the high school district or that local community is willing to pitch in some funding for those kind of hidden costs, like textbooks or other, lab fees or things like that. And so those are all real things. And sometimes we can get after those at a state level, and sometimes local partners just come in and can really save the day. So I just want to encourage that.
Well, thank you for that information. And that episode toolkit is amazing. So if you have not looked at it, you definitely need to do that ASAP. So do we have any more questions in the chat, or are we good on that? All right.
Yeah, I think we're good. And
Okay.
I just want to make one last comment, Mincy, and then I'll pitch you the.
No, you are great.
In the toolkit, I did just want to say that my team, we've done a series of dual credit webinars. We started last year, so there's a whole year's worth, and we launched this year in September. So we've had our September and our October webinars this year, and they focused on students with disabilities and then also working with middle school partners. But all of those webinars are archived there, and they're on different topics. They're really short, and there are some resources that are built in. So if you look under professional development in the toolkit, if you're interested in hearing, what we do is kind of the same thing you do, Mitzi. We get experts in the field to come and talk about how they're navigating different barriers or how we can open up opportunities for students. So I just wanted you to know that was there. And especially since we talked a lot about middle school, working with middle schools, that was the October webinar. So it's the one that's most hot off the press on that tab. So, okay.
Well, thank you, Robin. And I have had the opportunity to attend several of your webinars, and they are very, very informational and helpful. So we thank you all for this thoughtful discussion and appreciate the questions. And again, if you have additional questions, you can continue to drop those in the chat, and we do have people monitoring the chat, and we will get those to Robin and try to get an answer for you. I do want to take a moment to share the Kentucky Advising Academy's College and Career Advising Toolkit. It can be accessed by the tiny URL or the website at the bottom, or by scanning the QR code. We recently updated the layout, and we hope that you will find the new and improved layout easier to navigate. Just a little bit of information about our toolkit. It is designed to support all post-secondary advising systems and offers a comprehensive collection of tools, information, and resources to serve as a hub for advisors across the Commonwealth. The Post-Secondary Advising Toolkit will help you gain a better understanding of foundational elements to effectively advise high school students to and through their post-secondary transitions. You can use the toolkit to gain more insight into topics such as career and academic advising, student development, student belonging, and more. Each topic has a quick guide document or documents, which include important information that you can easily print and pass out to students or families. We also have Start Here guides that will give you some of the starting resources on various topics, kind of help you narrow the focus. There's still additional resources, but the Start Here guides kind of give you a starting point, if you will. And we also have our partnership guidebook. While this is not a comprehensive list of all partnerships across the state of Kentucky, it is a compilation of partnerships that were discussed or highlighted by participants at our in-person professional learning events. And we hope you will take a look at this guidebook. And while you may be utilizing many of these partnerships in your area, you may also have find additional partnerships you may not have considered by looking at some of the ones that were shared from other parts of the state. As we end our time together, I do encourage you to stay connected to the Kentucky Advising Academy. Be sure to be on the lookout for our next webinar. You can use the QR code shown here or the bit.ly to register for our December webinar. And I will make a note here that our December webinar will be on the second Thursday of December rather than the normal third Thursday because of holiday breaks and a busy time for you all as you're nearing the end of the semester. So just a note about the date change, but our December webinar will be resources and supports for student basic needs. And we will have Lily Massa McKinley from CPE sharing lots of valuable information and resources that will help in this area. Again, you are eligible for 1 hour of ELA or Frisky credit if you are able to attend live. So be sure and register now for that webinar. So to stay connected with KAA, we do have our toolkit, as we mentioned. You can visit our website at cpe.ky.gov/advisingky-toolkit for that, or just drop off the toolkit and just go to cpe.ky.gov/advisingky, and you can find information on how to access all the things that we have as resources, such as podcasts, webinars, professional learning series, and you can also sign up for our email distribution list. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We are on YouTube under Kentucky Advising Academy, and you can always email us at kyadvisingacademy@ky.gov. All of our webinars are recorded and archived on our toolkit as well as accessible on YouTube. So finally, we ask that you will please complete a survey. You can access the survey by scanning the QR code or by typing in the web address that is provided. We ask that you complete this survey so we can continue to improve the Kentucky Advising Academy and our offerings. This is also how we will award you your ELA or Frisky certificate. So please scan the QR code or use the link on the screen to complete the form. The link is also being dropped in the chat. And again, this is how you will receive your ELA or Frisky certificate of participation. But we also appreciate your feedback and your evaluation, whether you need the ELA credit or not. Again, we thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Robin, for the valuable information. We hope to see you all at future events. We thank you for your participation. We hope you have a great day. And as we near the Thanksgiving holiday, we hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you so much again for joining us.